Slide.
Oh, just by the way, totally off.
Please don't hold you harm.
So we made it.
Oh, look. We got a guest passes. Rieger's vodka. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Rieger's vodka. Wait, I thought we were on a whiskey tour. But this is going to be a really cool, fun place. We'll be here a while.
I like those chairs.
Look at the hug. Cute.
That's a lot of vanilla beans.
Cafe Amaro. Bittersweet
Spearmint?
coffee liqueur. Oh, you can smell it? I'm so excited. Okay, spearmint? No, wait. Okay. Yeah, it smells like spearmint, I think. You know, I'm excited to smell cardamom. We always talk about all the different spices, right?
Yeah.
I can't smell it because I can't get it open. Oh, here he goes. All right. Okay. Cardamom. That's what it smells like? Interesting. Smell it. Isn't that crazy? They look like little bean pods or something. Look at them. That's pretty cool. So, what? I've never heard of these. Gentian? Juniper berries. Okay, so this will be the gin. Yeah. Sniff. That's interesting. I like these little. Nice. Star anise or anise?
Anise?
Yes, star anise or anise. Oh yeah.
Also known as...
Don't even say it.
Alright. Kind of a licorice.
Yeah, yeah. And they're all, again, here's the star part. Huh. Star anise. Wow, that's cool. That's very cool. Oh, and vanilla bean. I'm gonna turn it back around so people see what it is. Orange peel, vanilla bean. Very cool. This is cool. I like this. Oh yeah, vanilla bean. I really don't feel like I've smelled vanilla bean in a long time. That smells good.
Yep. Now I want ice cream.
Me too. We'll do ice cream. And orange peel. I really didn't plan to go through every single one of these, but this is cool. Orange peel.
Yeah, kind of faint because it's dry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But very cool. Cafe Amaro.
But these are coffee beans.
Yeah. I'm going to open one of those up. I'm just going
That
to.
must be what's in the Cafe Amare.
Yes, definitely. Oh, it smells like a coffee bean, not skunk.
Yep.
I'm so excited. Does it smell like skunk? Okay. All right. Anyway, enough hands-on.
Still. Original bottle shape. Some shot glasses. Mail order offerings. More of their bottles. I like that one because it's purple.
I thought there was a guy looking at us.
Holiday offer. signature. I don't know what that is. Keychain?
Monogram was they have a drink for the road trip. I don't want to hold on to it.
So we'll definitely talk about bourbon and rye whiskey and what we're doing here. Follow me this way. My name is Victor. I'll be your spirit guide. If you got an empty glass, feel free to leave it here on this table. If you got a full glass, now's the time to do some work and polish that off. Follow me this way, and you can ask any and all questions.
Nice.
Cool staircase.
Yeah, around here. This whole process starts with grain. We're going to need to get alcohol some way, so that's what makes whiskey, beer, and wine what it is. We got to ferment carbohydrates to make alcohol. It's been happening for like 5,000 years now. In the United States, with all the laws and regulations that govern us today, our nation, Champagne, is governed by grain. 51% of your bourbon must be corn if you're going to even call it bourbon whiskey. Rye grain is what makes rye whiskey. The same applies to that grain making rye whiskey. To give you an idea of what we're making here, our rye whiskey is 96% rye grain, 4% malted barley. It's what we're making this season right now, and we'll start by grinding our grains into a coarse flour consistency. This is like what mashing your grain is all about, trying to make alcohol as efficiently as possible from your starch base. We'll boil our grains in water for about 4 to 5 hours, turning this into soup, and then we'll introduce yeast into the equation. By pumping our mash into one of these fermentation tanks, allows us about a 5 days time to ferment that mixture by adding yeast to that. And by the end of the week, we'll be dealing with a rye beer that's about 8 to 10% alcohol by volume. It's very chunky, very soupy, and if you want to see what I'm talking about, when we're all done a little later, you can go upstairs to get a bite to eat or ride the slide. but you'll definitely have a chance to get a bird's eye view of the fermentation process and all these little burps and farts that the yeast are producing as they eat the grain sugar and ferment it into ethanol alcohol. You guys have any questions so far? Cool beans. Very good. Let's go distill the beer. Let's get that alcohol and crank it up to the next level. Follow me. If you guys would like to come even closer, you're more than welcome to touch the equipment, to peek inside and see where physical distillation is taking place. When you look in that window, what you're going to look for is a very simple, flattened out copper plate that has holes in it. It's about as big around as your finger. And the whole point of this operation is to evaporate the alcohol away from the grain and the water that make up our beer. And we'll start doing that at the bottom. We'll start heating our beer at about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Get that alcohol to evaporate, and as a vapor, the alcohol is condensing as a liquid on those copper plates. That's how it's going to distill itself over and over and over again. The alcohol is going to make an evaporative journey towards the very top of that equipment. We'll start collecting it. We'll need to turn it back into a liquid. So once it exits the column still, we'll get it down into the condenser here. Gravity's going to help us out with that. Chill it back into a liquid, and you end up your beer looking like this delicious looking clear distillate product. It should be about 50 to 60% alcohol by volume at this stage, but there's a lot of methyl alcohol present now. Methyl alcohol gets fermented during fermentation, and it will absolutely make you go blind or kill you if you drink a little bit of it. Methyl alcohol is very, very bad for you. During Prohibition, you had a lot of people who didn't know what they were doing, trying to make alcohol where they couldn't buy it, and ultimately killing people by selling what they were making. That's bad news. Sherry is going to be our second distillation process. Just like we've separated alcohol from grain, we're going to separate undrinkable alcohol from drinkable alcohol. Let me show you what we're doing over here. It's important that we figure out what we're producing, when it's being produced, so we can separate it from drinkable alcohol. I'll show you what I'm talking about. We want to drink it, but it's okay to smell it. It doesn't smell very good. Then again, you're looking at what you're not drinking. What we're removing at the beginning and the end of this process is what they call hesitation. That makes sense. Hard spirit is better now.
Oh, you good.
Only allows ethanol to produce roughly 800 vegetables. Yeah, it doesn't smell bad, but it's that hard spirit that we talked about, like I said, is what goes into a barrel and ages as whiskey. We're not really done though. We're going to take the waste that we just made and make sure we get as much bang for our buck as we can. We'll re-distill the waste, get as much hard spirit out of that, and then we have something to sell as a commercial alcohol product. We can sell our heads and tails to make hand sanitizer, or hairspray, or nail polish remover, all sorts of like alcohol products like that. Isopropyl alcohol. You guys have any questions? Virtually everybody that distills alcohol all over the world has to do this exact same process. If they're making Scotch whiskey or vodka or gin, whatever, it's fermenting that alcohol, distilling that alcohol, and then what you do after that is what defines these products essentially. Vodka is what happens when you distill alcohol to 190 proof. You can ferment that alcohol from potatoes, or rice, or corn, or sugar beets, or maple syrup, or rye grain. Once it hits 190 proof, it is basically vodka by that point. That's why vodka doesn't really have a flavor or a color. It just kind of smells like alcohol. It is neutral alcohol product when it's distilled to almost pure alcohol in water. Pretty cool. Gin is vodka 2.0. Once you've made vodka, you can flavor it in a variety of ways. Gin is what happens when you redistill vodka with juniper berries in a greater or lesser amounts. That is what gin is all about. It's basically a shorthand for juniper berry gin. Do you guys like gin? Yeah. I hope so. I'm going to make you drink some more. Right next door is where we distill our gin and vodka production. So we're both board for the same product, and that way we can kind of make two things with one thing here at Jim Rieger. So yeah, let's talk about it. I'll take a detour on the unaged spirits. If you guys want to come a lot closer, you can, like I said, interact with the equipment. I like to get hands-on, and you can absolutely see those copper plates where alcohol distills itself, where it evaporates. This is basically, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's stainless steel because of the vodka, or?
It's stainless steel because it's like, we didn't really know what we were doing at the very beginning. Like, we barely knew how to make whiskey.
Yeah.
And so when it came to making gin, this happened a little bit later, and we were like, let's buy something that we can make cheaper mistakes on.
Oh, sure.
Stainless steel does not give you like the softness, the silkiness, the kind of palatability that copper metal is really doing for you. So we'll use Genesee to make our gin and vodka. She was specifically designed to make our gin as awesome as it is. We just went double gold on the gin. I'm very, very proud of this product. Tom Nickel is the proprietor of this gin. And if you don't know who that is, I saw some of you maybe reading about him in the founders section over there. For the better part of 40 years, Tom Nickel was the master distiller of Tanqueray Gin in London, England, developing and creating all those products that storied company produces. And what's really kind of neat is he had already retired, and this was exactly the kind of person we wanted to talk to learn from. And then we just ended up making him a partner in the company and making his signature retirement project here at J. Rieger Company.
That's cool.
He was pretty unhappy with this wee still, as he likes to call it. He's from Scotland, so he has some few other choice four-letter words that he likes to call this equipment. And it just simply didn't have enough copper for him. He made us go to Home Depot and cut up a bunch of these copper water tubes because he was just like, well, first things first, we got to get more copper on our equipment. Throw this stuff in there to get some copper contact on your booze. But what ultimately happened was allowing him to design his own gin still. That's what Genesee does for us, is help make this gin as soft and silky as it can be without stripping our flavor away from the gin product. It takes about 6 hours to turn our vodka into gin using Tom's recipe of juniper berries. This is the most of what you need if you want to call it London dry gin. Sicilian orange peels, coriander, and then some licorice rooted in milk. 5 simple, fancy tea ingredients to steep like tea in the vodka. Then distillation is flavoring and evaporating gin by the end of the day for you. Simple as that. We don't have to make as many cuts on that as the whiskey, but yeah, there is a little bit of waste. And we'll use that waste to make absinthe over here on the refill. So if you want to try that, you can drink it a little bit later. The gin is not barrel aged, so for the better part of a fortnight, as Tom likes to say, we'll let the gin rest. No barrel, just sitting in a non-characteristic tank. It's kind of like lasagna is better on day 2, right? You let it sit in the fridge and it just kind of like congeals up a bit. That's what like letting those gin oils play nice is all about. Letting that fortnight to let them settle down. And gin based on how much juniper berry you're using. Like I said, London dry gin is what you get when juniper berry is the dominant ingredient in your gin recipe. Botanical gin is what you get when it is the lesser of floral, menthol, or citrus characters. Hendrick's gin is a prime example of cucumber forward gin, juniper berry on the back burner. Vodka is more of a texture experience based on what you're making it from, how you're distilling it, whether you're carbon filtering it or not. Like all of these things lead to textural complexity.
I love that staircase.
It's pretty rad, isn't it? Yeah. Definitely not a part of the old brewery, but you know, something to help us get upstairs a little faster. But if you look at the blueprints out there, I mean, it's ultimately...
Oh, is that what... I saw the blueprint. I didn't see what they were.
Totally. It's the original blueprints of this building. It's the exact same floor plan. We just erected a couple extra drywall, you know, over it. So this is what makes American whiskey so evocative. For a minimum of 2 years, American producers, if they want to call their bourbon or rye straight bourbon or rye whiskey, you have to use a brand new barrel every time, and you must age that whiskey for at least 2 years in these charred American oak barrels. It's a huge consistency factor on our nation's champagne. Used barrels are generally sold off to other beer, wine, spirits producers. Can't categorically make the exact same whiskey over and over with the used barrel. It's just not allowed. It won't do that. Light whiskey, the Cafe Amaro, are other ways for us here at J. Rieger to reuse barrels. probably haven't heard about light whiskey because it's not something a lot of producers want to spend a lot of time in creating. Light whiskey distinguishes itself aging in a used barrel, and that takes a long time for a second use barrel to age whiskey. Bourbon whiskey becomes light whiskey once it's distilled past 160 proof. So before you start making corn vodka, you'll start making a light whiskey. And that's what we'll do to age our light whiskey. Taking a used barrel takes us about 10 years to age our light corn whiskey. It's probably why you don't see a whole lot of those products out there. It takes a lot longer to make. We're going to age what's known as bonded whiskey. For a minimum of 5 years, we'll age our bourbon and rye whiskey to achieve that bottled and bond status, our nation's champagne, so to speak. Yeah, get a good look inside this Missouri oak barrel, and we'll talk even more about what's happening inside this wood back here. Follow me. We want your steps.
Office like this, I would not get anything done.
You can see the flavor just dripping out of the barrel. Very fancy, very businessy. I love this room. It just screams, haha, business. But this is kind of where things get slowed down. We have like public and private dinners in here. Feel free to give us a call so you can rent this on your own time, on your own dime. Shameless plug, I know. But it's just a great place to talk about barrels. It's kind of like we're inside of a barrel, so it's, you know, nice to marinate on that metaphysical moment. We're aging just like the whiskey's aging all around us. If you want to figure out how old everybody is, like I said, we'll age for a minimum of 5 years here at Jacob Rieger Company. From left to right, the lot number on the barrel will tell you exactly how old everybody is. Starting on the left, the lot number is simply the year. The letter is the month, and then the last number is the day that the barrel was filled on. A is January, B is February, C is March, and I is September, and K is November. If you're just kind of wondering what the letters correspond to, it's the month. Just sing the ABCs and count up the months of the year. This is a war of attrition happening here. If we're going to make American whiskey in the barrel-aged sense, well, we're going to let time do that. And wood has holes in it, sadly. As good as oak wood is being used all over the world to age beer, wine, and spirits, you're definitely going to get some product loss, especially when it comes to American whiskey. We allow our warehouses to remain unclimate controlled. We don't HVAC. We just let the warehouse go from hot to cold throughout the year and really let the Midwest do its work, making our whiskey look and taste how it's supposed to. Hot, humid summers, cold, dry winters. Super awesome for getting that barrel to basically breathe on the shelf. Sometimes you get all 4 seasons in one day, right? And it's just kind of awesome when that happens. It really gets that whiskey moving in and out of that wood and gets it tasting the way we need it to.
Are the barrels scorched on the inside?
100%. The Independent Stave Company, you might see their logo on the barrel as well. They're the largest barrel cooperage in the world, and they just so happen to have a lovely little factory down in Lebanon, Missouri, in the heart of the Ozarks, where a lot of these barrels are forested, basically. They're harvested from oak trees in that region to make all the beer, wine, and spirits that you drink in the United States, for sure. Missouri oak is very highly prized for its specific wood structure, and these barrels will go all over the world to make Scotch whiskey, or Japanese whiskey, or California wine, or, you know, Jamaican rum. They do it all. They go everywhere. There's like an 80% chance that the beer, wine, and spirit that you're drinking aged in a Missouri white oak barrel. It's pretty amazing how many of them are out there. So yeah, they're going to burn what's called a number 3 char on the interior. There's about 5 levels of burn that they apply to whiskey barrels. So we'll specify about a 45-second time that they light the wood on fire before they extinguish it and before we start aging whiskey in it. And that'll be what we age bourbon and rye whiskey in. Bonded whiskey is a 6-year process for us. When you're drinking our bonded bourbon and rye, that's a 6-year bonded bourbon, bonded rye whiskey. 5 years is kind of where we can decide if we want to pull it and play with it as straight whiskey. There's a whole lot more that you can do and blend and wine cask finish when it comes to straight whiskey versus bonded whiskey. So that's kind of how we can make even more whiskey here by making 2 different styles of bourbon and rye. That way it lets us do a lot more with the worldly barrel persuasion, using other wine barrels and beer barrels to make even more nuanced whiskey here. Just by making 3 whiskeys, we make like 20 whiskeys, just by wine cask finishing them and blending them. And that's what you're going to be drinking here pretty soon, is Kansas City style whiskey, a blend of all that we do alongside 15-year dry stack Oloroso sherry, just like you would have drank over 120 years ago. They used sherry wine to color and flavor and make American whiskey look like a barrel-aged product. Did you guys know that? Have you guys ever had sherry before?
Yeah.
Sherry's pretty fun. It's not just your grandma's cheap cooking wine anymore. We're able to bring more exclusive sherries from Spain since Prohibition has been repealed, so there's a lot of really good stuff out there. But it's important to not interfere with the whiskey profile. Here in America, we can only get away with using very little of this sherry if we still want to make an American whiskey product. Back in the day, they had no laws governing whiskey production. Prior to 1897, a lot of what we talked about like simply didn't exist back then. Barrel-aged whiskey was some of the most expensive product you could get your hands on, and to that degree, they tried to get their money back a little bit quicker. They paid their taxes to the government at the beginning of the process, and when you kind of figure out that we're losing about 2% of the barrel every year just barrel aging it, nobody wanted to pay money up front on something that loses you money as it ages over time. They used sherry, a hugely popular and trendy product on its own right, to color and flavor whiskey, and that helped you make whiskey faster to compete against all of the rot gut whiskey at the time. Whiskey that, if you were lucky, was colored and flavored with, things like prune juice if you were lucky. Sometimes they would purportedly let whiskey sit in heaps of rusty nails and let that color kind of flavor and diffuse into the whiskey. They would have groups of individuals chewing tobacco and spitting it into the whiskey blending trough to color it. They would use benzene every once in a while to do that. So like I said, there was a lot of really bad whiskey out there, and it's kind of why sherry was used to make whiskey faster and make it a better looking, better tasting product a little bit quicker, help you compete. You guys excited to try something nobody's had in 120 years, practically?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's good. Oloroso sherry has to come from Spain. True sherry comes from Sherry, Spain, or Jerez, Spain, in the proper Spanish. So everything else is just sherry style wine. It's a fortified wine, and if you're drinking it, it basically has to come from 2 little towns in southern Spain, right on the Mediterranean coast. It's a lovely little fortified wine. There's sherries that are maple syrup in color and in texture and very, very sweet, very, very dessert oriented. And then there are sherries that are bone dry, Chardonnay in color, and light orchard fruit, evocative apples, pears, peaches, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where Oloroso sherry fits in for us, being that perfect balance of dryness and sweetness, and giving our 3 whiskeys that little je ne sais quoi of the past, if you will. Let's go drink some. Follow me this way. If you want to try it before you sip it, you can scrape the syrup off the side. Eatable if you want. You can scrape a waiver to the test. That's your barrel.
Okay.
Don't lick the barrel. You're better than that.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe you're not. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, right directly across from where I'm doing, that's some of the oldest rye whiskey. It's about 8 years, 9 years old. Yeah, there. Gamba is an Italian barrel producer. These very different looking wine barrels on the ground here are actually dry curacao barrels. Whiskeys that we dub private stock kind of clue our consumers into that wine cask finishing persuasion. A lot of our collaborative efforts with local bars and restaurants and liquor stores revolve around wine cask finishing. We have finished Kansas City whiskey kind of aging in these French oak dry curacao barrels. So that's kind of something fun that we can do with what you're about to drink, is put some alternative character on it. Let it sit in these barrels for a little longer. Plus, they look really cool. A little bit more elegant.
You gonna scrape it?
Figure that out when you look at our mill over here. You can see where we process whole grain, milling it down to a form that makes the most sugar for us as efficiently as possible. One of those bags will make about 2 barrels of whiskey, so there's quite a lot of grain we have to deal with. We get to repurpose our grain. As a silage product, we can resell it. We distill the alcohol from it, so all we got to do is dry it out and give it back to local farmers as a livestock feed. Happy pigs, happy cows. And we'll do that right over here. You can kind of see the grain dripping down the sides of these vats, but then again, this little grinder device dries it out for us. You can see those tubs back there on the curb.
Look at the Kansas City box.
Before we blend, we'll start straining the whiskey. What you're going to be drinking here in a little bit is a blend of our 5-year bourbon, our 5-year rye, our 10-year light corn whiskey, alongside that 15-year dry stack Oloroso sherry. So we'll figure all that in these forward tanks behind us over here, isolating those products and then blending them into the 5th tanks. And that happens first by straining the whiskey. We got to get rid of all the wood bits out of that barrel, and that's pretty easily done by dumping it in this drop over here.
City vodka.
Yeah.
Big amendment 2C, I love that name. She won't be sassy, does she? So I love free smell. You like to smell whiskey before it goes into the barrel. This is what rye whiskey, hard spirit, and all that. It's what ages sherry wine for about, decades at a time in some cases. Monogram whiskey is fractionally blended whiskey. We'll always just take what we need out of those barrels to bottle monogram whiskey, but it's important to leave a little bit of last year's whiskey behind so we can have it move on to next year and play with next year's whiskey. That's kind of what makes that a little bit more exclusive. Aging it in 100-year-old sherry barrels really gets a certain stank on it, if you will.
Vodka.
Oh, and then we're back.
Yeah, wait, first circle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you up in the gift shop.
Yeah.
It's like a Disney.
If you need to listen to your body, definitely exit off on to the right. I shan't start the tasting until we all are able to have the same experience. On to the right. Won't start the tasting until we all Very good. That's my little mission.
That's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah.
When you pick up the vodka glass, I always recommend slow and steady wins the race. Sipping on that slowly. Maybe just skip smelling the vodka. Just kind of brings me college PTSD flashbacks. What you're smelling is actually a sulfur compound. Sulfites are naturally occurring during fermentation. Happens in wine. And copper distillation is super important because it bonds to these sulfur compounds. These sulfites are stripped clean from the distillate simply by letting it touch copper metal. So hopefully what you're drinking and sipping on should be, when you pay attention to how it feels on your tongue, hopefully you're getting softness or silkiness, however you want to interpret that, smoothness. Hopefully it's not oily or viscous. I hate like smoothie, like hyper alcohol.
Vodka. It's actually sweet.
There is a hint of sweetness.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Very smooth.
You ever chewed on a piece of bread for a really long time, then it starts turning to mush, and it's kind of sweet after a while.
Yeah.
It's basically that wheat grain yelling at you down the hallway. Don't really taste the Cheerios into something into the environment. When you move on to gin, take what you've learned on texture and apply it to a much more profound experience. Definitely smell and nose that gin.
Well, it's gin. You gotta pay some
Sip
gin.
slowly and steadily wins the race, just like with vodka. We want to feel the gin, we want to taste the tannins that are mainly Right off the bat, your experience starts with dried tiny juniper berries.
Kind of loses it.
Dried gin.
There.
We're not in London anymore. That's why we call this a Midwest dried gin, but it is still dried gin.
Yeah.
A lot of citrus on this gin. Orange peels, of course. I can absolutely smell them. I can taste the orange peels.
Oh, yeah.
Coriander really vibes in there. It turns those orange peels into grapefruit peels, I think. Get lemon peels and lime peels and maybe even fresh cut pineapple.
Caramelized without things.
It's delightful stuff. It's a lovely little log cabin. Super easy
mouth
to
feel and
drink,
everything,
super easy to
right?
make, and super delicious. Very good. Before you move on to whiskey, make sure we take a sip of water. Rinse the palate with that visual star, but then again, for your health, hydrate first. A lot to talk about and experience on this whiskey is 4 different spirits in one glass. 2% of what you're smelling and tasting is 15-year dry set Oloroso sherry. Right off the bat, it's what I like to call sherry on the nose. It's
That
very
smells
sweet
good.
smelling.
Yeah. It's almost like
Kind of a figgy, like nutty character. Almost gets
smells
apricots
super
and
good.
peaches off of it, but you factor the other whiskey kind of smells.
look at the legs on her.
And then when you start drinking it, you kind of move into the classic caramelized sugar palate wheel of what American whiskey is. Toffees and butterscotches dominate some of the first notes. Once the sherry moves away and gives away a like whiskey, they owned off that flowers.
Right.
Start tasting like honey
Wow, sugar.
and start experiencing like a clean, dry oakiness from the barrel. Start tasting the wood there.
Yep.
All of those products taste pretty wise. No surprises if there's any bug.
It's
Rye whiskey's a little bit more hidden. What we call back palate is after you've swallowed and the alcohol is evaporating on your tongue. There's still some experience to be had here. Try to breathe out your mouth to provide a cooling effect, and then you might start seeing things, tasting things like cinnamon, allspice,
brown sugar.
nutmeg,
That's what.
Not brown sugar.
dryness, the hallmarks of rye whiskey.
Ace's coming.
The baking spice palette we will cover. Sometimes floralish, fruity. I would describe our rye whiskey having a hint of like dried cherries and currants. A lot of complexity. Very approachable. I love how the sherry just throws you right in there.
It's got all kinds of flavors.
Wait, are you?
Gives you a whole wealth of
And it's got some heat.
character that you'll find all
There's a lot going on in
It's like a
there.
whole whiskey.
The rye, right?
Well, it's a blend of everything.
That's why I call it my workhorse whiskey. You don't waste a lot of time figuring out if this makes a better old fashioned versus a Manhattan. It's pretty applicable in both instances. Should stop drinking.
What's the proof on this?
Should be like 92 and a half, I think. We used to have these cards still in
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it hovers around like 45.
Yeah. Get the heat in the back of the throat.
Yeah.
The gin is a little stiffer too. It like hovers around like 92 on average. Wanted to create higher proof spirits so they kind of stand out in the cocktail.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty hot for 92. I mean,
I think
at
it's
the end,
pretty
at the end.
smooth too. As
Yeah.
well. Like it's pretty soft.
Yeah.
Especially the gin. Like I'm like really used to drinking like bad gin. It's
Oh.
kind of refreshing to have something almost clarify. Like this isn't oily at the slightest.
Yeah.
It's soft. You can taste everything that's in there. It's great. It's great gin.
That's because you added the copper.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's why you have to rejuvenate the equipment. They have to call like the manufacturer every like handful of years and like replace certain sections of the jackets.
It doesn't hurt to have the.
Cafe Amaro is traditionally a digestif. And then again, the Amari world
So
of
is this
spirits is all about aperitif and digestif before and after dinner. Dominates what
smells
Amari is
so
all about. They're not all coffee flavored. Amari can be bitter orange or bitter earth or bitter vegetable. They all generally share the same bitter characteristic.
That smells good. Like
And it sounds
What's it mean in Thai?
bitter.
Bitter?
Most Amari clock anywhere from like 12 to 30% alcohol by volume. They're very botanically edited.
Wrap up a box.
Art and character generally.
Take that.
You could probably add one that didn't even know it. Jägermeister, Aperol,
Yeah.
Campari, Chartreuse, Fernet Branca, Cynar.
Yeah, that's very good.
All notable entries in the awards.
Dang, that surprised me.
This was a bitter cup of black coffee was the inspiration for this. There's a whole world of sweet, syrupy, milky coffee dessert liqueurs out there. I think Ryan maybe was really bored with all of that and kind of wanted to look at the grown-up, bitter.
Yeah, that's definitely different.
I really like this one.
It really
That's really
plays huge on that baking spice and coffee persuasion. It smells like tiramisu, I think, and
You could put
baking with it.
Yeah.
One of the first things I thought.
Oh yeah.
Definitely tiramisu. When you said that,
Yes, that would be perfect for that. I've never made it in my life, but let's try it. With them.
as long as you serve it with this, I'll try.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
Don't make your own baking so wine.
Yeah. I don't drink coffee at all, but this is good.
There's caffeine in this.
100%.
Getting rid of my morning coffee. Right.
Oh, okay.
We'll basically start with Everclear neutral corn spirits, 190 proof, and then that used bourbon barrel kind of helps us out. We'll take these 8 botanicals up front of you here: cardamom pods, juniper berries, orange peels, vanilla bean, that black licorice tinge of starch, spearmints, just to name a few.
I can't
It's coffee beans, so much for coffee beans. All of this steeps in a whiskey barrel like tea, flavoring that neutral spirit. And then we still gotta cut the alcohol down, so rather than water, we'll make cold brew coffee from the same Sumatran beans and the cold brew coffee instead of water. So yeah, there's a little bit of caffeine.
Yummy.
And booze, uppers and downers, keeping the body guessing, right?
Right.
And you'll notice, like, the longer you sip on it, like the more involved and nuanced it becomes, and
So
really
good.
kind of takes your brain on all
Just
sorts of
a
places.
thick glass of coffee and then more.
Also, I love how it's
Maybe
not
over ice
super
cream.
sweet. Some of those Oreo are very bitter, very viscous, and it's just kind of like overwhelming.
Like a
Jägermeister as well.
like a
Talking about it.
Thing and then into cream.
I'm gonna be
Ice cream. Like a vanilla ice cream.
like
Man, the black shake.
Oh,
It's syrupy. Like I'm at a point where I can appreciate the black licorice with like the thickness of it. It really like overwhelms my palate.
and it's got that tannin after bit like coffee does. That's why I don't like coffee, but I mean it does have that.
yeah.
Yeah, because it was not
Yeah,
Bitter is
that was
just
so
as integral as sweet
The
is.
gin's
So kind
really
of start there and you like want to decide what to make with.
Yeah.
It was such a smooth drink.
Cocktail wise, baking wise is pretty It does not play well with dairy, so when you're experimenting, I'll
really?
save you the trouble. Don't try to make a white Russian with it. Unless you're using like stupid disc.
Oh, whoops! I guess ice cream is
More ice cream.
Shakes are pretty good.
Oh, all right.
So ice cream's
Okay.
back.
Starting blended vanilla.
Back in the ice cream.
Quarter cup into your Betty Crocker brownie mix.
That would be really good. Brown.
Whatever your persuasion. Cheers, you guys. I'm gonna kind of go around and collect your lanterns. Answer any unanswered questions that might be eating you alive on the inside. Ultimately, I'm gonna let you live your dreams. You can head outside to the patio. A whole new experience awaits out there. Take what you've learned and sample some other products that I mentioned here in the tasting room. You got a selection of private stock whiskeys for you to try, absinthe, cocktails to go along with it. So yeah, explore, ask questions.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much. Cheers, you guys.
Quick question.
Yes.
And I don't know if you said it, I missed it, but how many barrels of the bourbon do you guys run through a month, a year?
It's more seasonally. So, like, for example, like we're supposed to make about 2,500 barrels of whiskey this year. And that, I mean, that's across the board of like bourbon, rye, and light whiskey.
Oh, okay.
So right now, because of that bottled and bond schedule, we have to produce whiskey seasonally. The rye whiskey that we are producing from January of this year to June of this year is what has to age for at least that 6 years that we're aging it for. And Nathan Perry has to be the same distiller monitoring that the whole time. So it's kind of like why we distill.
So he has job security for 6 years.
Right. I would say you could probably take that 2,500 and like basically divide it in half between bourbon and rye whiskey. There's like a 6-week time frame every year that we devote to light corn whiskey, so there's definitely not as much of that product that we produce. versus bourbon and rye whiskey.
I guess I hadn't realized that the distiller, the master distiller, the distiller had to be.
Those I'm in here.
Yeah, if Nathan were to go get like another job, it's not like we would have to throw all that whiskey away. We just couldn't call it bonded whiskey. Yeah.
What is that?
How many barrels would you say are aging like right now? Like in
Oh
the
God, like we have probably about like 3,900 barrels in this building,
wow.
and then we have probably about 200, maybe 400 other barrels over at the other warehouse.
Oh wow.
Right. Like, is the 5 years, the 6 years a set thing, or do they open it up and taste it throughout to see?
5 years is kind of like that bare minimum where we start looking and seeing how everybody's tasting, and then if it like still needs to go a little bit longer than that, we can do it. What's really kind of neat is like we're using a multitude of barrels to like collectively blend things, so it's kind of
Makes the whole done.
you know, it's nice that we don't have to rely on a barrel-to-barrel basis.
Right,
You
right.
Get a more consistent character when you have that seasons of whiskey production ultimately. Which is why bottled and bond is so specific. They don't want you mixing, you know, even though it's the same whiskey, they don't want you mixing this year's whiskey with last year's whiskey. It's like much more of like a wine vintage than it is a day-to-day whiskey product. Which is why people spend a lot of time making whiskey. Or if they are making bonded whiskey, it's like the one product that they're trying
all they
to do so they can offer it all over.
Yeah, yeah.
The background is called.
Crazy.
I had to get lawnmower.
Go back in.
Look at, I just realized we're underneath like that big road.
Yeah.
This is a cool place. Really cool place. Yum, candy.
They do it together.
Oh, I thought that was a candle. Oh, look it. That's so cool. I know there's nothing in here, but you know, I have to open it.
I like the containers.
Yeah. I definitely want to get a bottle of Mon for sure.
Yeah.
I can't get it close. I can't get it because I can't get it close.
Focus. There we go. Socks. Shirts or hats. Don't see a price for those though. Madagascar vanilla. Coffee. Sort of chocolates.
Chocolate?
Cannings. Dog toys. And cocktails.
Bottled cocktails. Gin and seasonal tonic. So gin with natural flavors. Whiskey, so Red Kingdom, whiskey and grape wine with natural flavors. Casey ice water. Grain neutral spirit and natural flavors. Horse feather made with whiskey. So these are just their drinks, yeah. Cool. That's so cool. I do love the bottle. So very kind of throwback. You know, there was a.
All right, we have to go upstairs and then see the slide.
Wait. I gotta see what I find my one. Yeah.
Oh, I see something. Tasting room exclusives. Mole spice flavored vodka. This is all vodka. Bugs. What did you find?
Scarves, little scarves, and some hats. bourbon barrel aged maple syrup. Awesome.
Vodka, whiskey, and gin.
Kansas City whiskey, that's what we tried in the tasting room.
This is the bourbon.
So then they have over here, I'll show you. Like you can fill your own bottle like we did over there.
Oh, that is
Evans
so
Hill.
cool.
Yeah.
$85.
Rye whiskey.
You get the. Yeah. Label.
You guys can go wherever you want, but if you guys go outside, I'll move.
Yeah.
Even if after the tour
Private
you find
stuff.
stuff out. So then you don't have to pull out your ID.
Oh, the train stopped again.
It's as bad as Elkhart.
As Anders would say, to the bar.
To the
Although
bar.
it says to the Monogram Lounge. Or the Monogram Club for no dick. Nice view from up here. Very cool.
And this is the Monogram Lounge.
Yeah, very cool. We're gonna peek over, right? Peek over to see the distillery.
Oh yeah.
Which way you wanna go?
This way. Since we're here already.
Oh, there you go. There's the distillate.
Well, what did you think?
Okay, well, this distillery is really cool.
Yeah.
I think what's cool about it is the historical aspect of it, for sure.
Yep.
The whiskey is cool. The vibe is cool. The event space is cool. It's
Outside dining area is cool.
yeah. I mean, this would make me want to. Visiting this distillery would make me want to live in Kansas City, Missouri alone. It's just a cool vibe. I mean, I thought the other day when we went to Holiday, that was cool. I mean, this is cool in a completely different way. They're both cool, but okay, grief. I mean, and then to think about the people who are the co-founders of this place. Young guys, you know, great grandson of Jacob Rieger, and
a bartender.
local bartender, fantastic. And then to have the likes of, oh gosh, what is his name? He just said what his name was. Tom from Tanqueray
Tanqueray, yeah.
Gin.
And
Yeah.
Dave Pickerel.
And Dave Pickerel, and everybody knows Dave Pickerel from Whistle Pig and Blackened, right? Blackened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that and a couple. I mean, Pickerel's also from Maker's Mark, many years.
Yeah.
And he was consultant. But anyway, good grief, this place is awesome. So if you're in Kansas City, Missouri, it is a must stop, I believe, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And even if you aren't in Kansas City by chance, make a point to go to Kansas City, Missouri. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely a stop worth making.
Yeah. Maybe we can see Patrick Mahomes while we're here.
Maybe.
But wait, is that Kansas City,
You never know.
Kansas, or is that Kansas City, Missouri? The football team is from Missouri? I think it is. I don't know. We don't get much south of the Indianapolis Colts or west of the Chicago Bears. Anyway, I think it's from Kansas City, Missouri. Anyway, very cool. So we're going to do in this video with Mike going down the slide,
Yes.
because when there's a slide, you have to.
When there's a slide, you have to.
Yep. Anyway, thanks for watching.
gonna go down the slide.
Good dog. All right, well, let me, give me a few seconds.
All right.
I got you. It won't take me long to get down there.
All right. Here goes. All right, here goes down the slide. Ta-da! Hopefully, my pants aren't melted.
You hope your pants aren't what?
Melted.
No, they're good. That's funny. All right.